Hey, Russ Rogers from the 17 Law Studio. Today I'm going to talk about health in your marriage, health with your children, all about the health. I just want to toss around some ideas because one of the roughest things that we see in America is childhood obesity or adult onset and diabetes and all that. Some we can't help, some we're born with it, some it just happens. I get that. But I want to talk a little bit about that. But there's a bigger reason I'm sharing this, so stay with me. And that is when you are worried about your health or you're not healthy. Uh, well, I'll go with when you're not healthy. You're probably worn out. You probably don't feel your best. And you certainly do not have the energy for your spouse or your children or any of your family. And that is why I want to talk about this because I want you to have enough energy for your spouse and enough energy for your children to do the things that you should be doing. And I want to help you do that. And I've got some simple ideas that I do, may or may not help you, but it's helped me help a bunch of people like me as well. And there's another thing I want to talk about your house. So when you've got a health issue that you can do something about, but you've got that whatever the issue is, that's all you think about. That's the focus when you get up every day is about that. And it's so freeing when you don't have that, if you can control it. Again, no need to email me about when you get sick and it's not your fault or just things happen. But when it comes to things that you can control, a lot of the health situations will go away if you're doing some healthy things. The biggest reason I want to talk about this, because I know in my life when I got my biggest, when I 50 pounds heavier than I am now, I was working all the time. I was eating terrible, and I got on the scale one day, and I thought, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And now I've never taken a picture like this, but I've got those pants, that you can set beside you, and you can see how wide you were when you had them. I had those for a number of years. I would put them on. I'd like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was that big. And then I go back and look at the photos because my wife is so sweet. And it's, oh, well, you didn't look that big. I didn't think about it at the time. I was like, yeah, right. I was the chubbiest guy in the room, but it got my attention. But I look back, and it's like I was tired all the time. I didn't really feel like doing a lot, even though I would sometimes because I'm just kind of a high energy guy anyway. But it was rough, and it also messed up my blood pressure, messed up my all hormones, and it just was very unhealthy. And I probably there's no, and it was all self inflicted. 100% chance I could do something about it, and it had to do with diet and exercise. It wasn't, but it's more to it than diet and exercise. And I'll share with you some of the things that I do and what I've seen that'll help you. I won't bore you with it. We're not going to be here all day, and I'm not selling anything on health. Uh, and if you agree or disagree with me, please just let me know in the comments. Let me know. Say, hey Russ, you're full of crap. That doesn't work for me. Great. I'd be good to know that. It would be great for that. Hear that. And if you say, Russ, that's great. I'm going to try this. I don't really have a big disclaimer. So if you've got a particular situation, you got to get a doctor involved and all that. And by all means, you need to do that. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the health and how that worked. And again, I'm roughly 50 pounds lighter than my all-time high, and my weight varies a little because I'm like you and everybody else. I'll get a little heavier, and then I got to watch myself for a little while. I'll get a little heavier, but I'm not. But before I would wait till I was like 25, 30 pounds, and I would do something about it. And so for a number of years, I was always on a diet. I was either on a diet or I was pigging out, diet, pigging out. And so, and I feel like that's like what everybody says. That's why you need to go on the Atkins diet or the keto diet or the whatever diet or the prune juice diet or whatever. Uh, and I just finally, I said, I'm not going to do any of those. And I decided to do a couple things. One is since I was just got married, I was always a runner. But and I would run 3 to 5 miles a day, and then I got to where basically I would do 5 miles every day for 5, 6 days a week, and then one day I would try to do it like a 10 miler. And over the years, I did run them: Walt Disney World Marathon, Walt Disney World Half Marathon, a bunch of other half marathons, and some 5Ks, 10Ks kind of thing. Uh, but then, one thing I realized, you can't out exercise a poor diet. I, as much, used to, if I went by a Hardee's or Chick-fil-A or whatever and got way too much food for breakfast, and then that afternoon I said, well, I'm going to exercise twice as much. Well, it's hard to out exercise a poor diet. Lord knows I tried. And then I didn't want to eat kale for breakfast, and I didn't want to give up this, want to give up all these things. So one of the things that I decided, I needed a reason why. One is I wanted to see my kids graduate high school. I wanted to be healthy. I didn't want to, if there's a reason I'm not healthy, I don't want it to be my fault. I don't want to be because I could have prevented it with some discipline in my life. And I know, I mean, for years, I'd sit down and watch ball games on TV at 10 o'clock at night, and West Coast ball games especially, eat a box of Cheez-Its till 1 o'clock in the morning. I could eat a whole box of Pop-Tarts at a sitting. I, I'm not exaggerating. Nothing like a big old milkshake at 11 o'clock at night. So I love there were I didn't really love Cokes. We're in the South. We call all sodas Cokes. But I would drink some of the diet ones, and there's some chemicals and stuff in there. I don't even drink those anymore. Um, but if you ever look and see how much sugar is in one of those, it's absolutely mind-boggling. I've had friends that ate decent and they drank a lot of Coke. I said, man, just stop drinking Coke, and man, they would drop weight just like that. Just getting rid of the Coke. Um, so uh, there's one thing. You might just be in the all right. Don't drink Coke. All right, now today there's a fad of intermittent fasting. Now you could do that or not do that or whatever. But so I thought I would do intermittent fasting. But really, what it did for me was I stopped eating after 8 o'clock at night. That was something I decided not to do, and I realized, you know what? I actually slept better, and I didn't need any Tums or any of those sort of things if I stopped eating after 7, 8 o'clock at night. I don't really do the intermittent fasting. But that's one thing I started to do. But then now I have stuck with, I don't eat past 8 o'clock, and I've done that for quite some time. And I can't, and one of the ways to stay healthy with your weight as well is getting good night's sleep, getting good sleep. And if you're picking out late at night, you're probably not sleeping that well. Your body just doesn't, it's not made to do that. So there's another thing that I've done, and I'm not going to share anything with you that's too drastic. I have done drastic diets, and they work. I've done every diet you can think of, and they work. But for me, I just piled it back on, and I'd be doing it again in a few months. Maybe you're super disciplined. You're going to lose 40 pounds, and you're never going to gain it again. That's great. I'm just unfortunately not as disciplined as you. So when it comes to food and all that sort of stuff, I have zero discipline. Whatever's in front of me, I'm going to eat it to this day. Um, the only reason I'm not going to eat a box of Pop Tarts right now is because I don't have a box of Pop Tarts in my house. If I had a box of Pop Tarts in my house, I would eat those. So so intermittent fasting. If you can do that, and your doctor and all that says you can, that's great. But the biggest part I got of that is, for me, I know there's videos on that, and you don't have to tell me. I've read all the videos and I've looked at it, and uh, I I don't always want to not eat from 8 o'clock at night until noon the next day, kind of thing. So that's just me. But don't eat after 8 o'clock. That if some people can just stop drinking Coke and stop eating past 8 o'clock, problem solved. So here's the next thing that I did on my eating habits. One, I said, you know what, I'm going to drink water or unsweet tea. Don't put anything in my coffee. Got to have my coffee. 90 something percent of the time, that's true. I'll drink water, unsweet tea. That's usually what and coffee with no sugar. Now, recently I started putting a little honey in my coffee. I know it's sugar. I know it's the same thing. Some people say just as healthy. Some say not. Doesn't really matter. I'm still putting a little honey in my, not a ton, but just a little bit of honey. It's sweetened it a little bit. So I basically said I'm not going to drink sugar. That means milkshakes, Cokes, lemonade, whatever the case may be. Other thing on that too, I decided I don't want to drink diet drinks. I've read a bunch of things about what's in those. There's probably some out there maybe that's not that bad. But I remember drinking a bunch of diet drinks a long time ago, and I threw the can in my trash can under my desk, and it was like 4 or 5 in a day. And I thought, oh my gosh! So I stopped drinking them, and I had a terrible headache for 3 days. And I thought, oh my goodness, if I feel that bad after quitting those diet drinks, I don't need them. And so that's been a dozen plus years ago. If I'm sitting around and somebody has a Coke Zero and that's the only thing to drink in there, I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. I'll have it. It's not the end of the world. But I'm just saying that's for me. I typically don't do that. There are some studies that say the diet drinks really mess with your system, as far as the insulin levels and all that sort of stuff. That anyway, that's something you can look up. For me, uh, I'm not drinking my sugar. Next thing I've done on my eating habits is I've decided to start eating less. And not only when I'm eating less, I try to, when I sit, right before I'm sitting down, if I'm out to eat, if it's out to eat or if it's home, whatever, I'll try to drink a whole glass of unsweet tea or a whole glass of water or whatever it is you're drinking that's hopefully sugar free. I'll drink it before I get started, just automatically. And that way I'm already starting to get full, and then I try to eat a little less. And I went to my mom's best cook on earth, the best cook on earth. And I went over to her house the other night, and she had roast and potatoes and these really cool Mrs. Schubert's rolls and yes, I had every bit of it. I just didn't have. I drank a couple glasses of tea before I started, and I just didn't eat 10. I ate maybe 2 of those little rolls instead. Normally I'd have 7, 5, whatever. And instead of a big old giant piece of cake, I had a sliver. I just tried to do a little better, a little less. I mean, if I drink enough tea, I'm not. I'm already full by the time we get there, and so it's really. I'm trying to do that. I'm not. I'm not doing all these magical things. Next thing I'm doing is I try not to eat the white stuff and like the bread and potatoes. And if I do, I just don't eat as much. Like today, I stopped by a place on the way somewhere, and I got 2 ham biscuits, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to eat the ham off the biscuits. I didn't eat both biscuits. I'm telling you, when I was 50 pounds overweight, I would have eaten both. Now, I'd probably been sausage and egg biscuits and got some whatever potatoes they have at that restaurant. And then, so the next, so not no more. I try to stay away from the white stuff, and that's usually bread, potatoes, kind of thing. Do I have French fries? Yes, weekly. I promise you. Do I eat? I maybe get a small instead of a large order, that sort of thing. Do I recommend them? No, I wish you wouldn't, but I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And then I typically stay away from the bread. I'm not just so crazy about it that I'm driving everybody crazy about it. I'm just saying if there's like I just mentioned, I had it over at my mom's. Yeah, I did that. But if I'm going to go to a restaurant and I want a hamburger from there, I probably will just take the bun off. And if I really, really, really like it anyway, I might just take half the bun, like the top or the bottom off. Um, just some little things like that. And say, well, what's the big deal? Well, I used to have 2 whatever pieces of bread a day, and then over the course of a year, I don't now. That's a big difference. So there's that. I try to uh, not order uh, fried stuff as much as I used to. Used to only I could live off of fried stuff. Now I try to get the grilled, whatever, if you want steak or fish or whatever. So I'm trying to do that. I try not to order rice. That's part of the white stuff. And so over time, it's just these little bitty things I've done. It's just like kept my weight under. Now that's just in general what I do. Eat a little better, eat a little less. Try not to drink sugar. Try not to eat the white stuff. It's not the hardest, and it's so much easier than okay. I'm gonna take a shot and have in my belly and only have 500 calories for 6 weeks and lose weight. I've got friends that have done that, and 6 months later they were like I was, and back they keep eating again. If it works for you, by all means, whatever you and your doctor and your family want to do. Now for me, I just like a little better, a little less, and over time I got the weight under control, and then I'll gain a little, but now when I gain 5 pounds, 7, 8 pounds, it's like, oh, I need to watch it a little. watch it for a week or two, and then I need to, cut back here and there. I find myself doing stupid things, having French fries every day, and then all of a sudden my weight gets up there, and I need to. It's just not. It was like this, and now it's just kind of like this. Now for me, the next thing I do is I work out with the weights every week. Usually 3 times, sometimes 4 times a week. I always work out with the weights. I kind of have a routine that I enjoy. What I would recommend you do with weights or exercise, whatever it is that you decide to do, is do what you enjoy. Because if you enjoy it, you'll stick with it. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it. So I've got this weight routine. I've got I'm a member of the Y, but I've got this weight. Ended up over time. Got all this stuff in my basement. I can watch TV, enjoy myself, and I've got this weight routine. It's pretty strenuous for me, and I'm probably stronger now than I was a long time ago when I was younger. So I have the I work out with the weights. I do the cardio. I hurt my knees, so the runnings is tough now or non-existent. So now I'm an elliptical guy. Found the perfect elliptical for me, and I have one of those in my basement. That's the exact same thing they have at the Y. I go do both of those, but mainly I'm starting to do more and more at home. It's just quicker, and I'm already there, and I can. So I'm doing that uh, sometimes every day, but for sure the days I'm not working out with the weights, I'll get on there and I'll go 3 to 5 miles, and depending on how fast I go and what level I put it on. But I enjoy that, and I can watch something. A lot of times, learning about family and marriage, watching videos and things like what you're doing, watching me. It gives me a chance there. Sometimes I'm on the phone returning phone calls, and I'm doing enough where I'm not that out of breath to have the conversation. So the other thing, one more thing I do is I plan exercise every day. I don't, not if I just don't have enough time. It's every day. I have to plan it. So I like, it's if I wake up at 5 in the morning, I'm too tired to do it. And then I need to look and say, okay, what time today am I going to exercise? Okay, I'm going to leave work at this time, and I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to do that. Or if I can't tonight, if I can't on Monday, then I got to figure out a way to do it. And then if I'm traveling, I don't use that as an excuse. I plan exercise while I'm traveling too. Okay, I can go down to the gym at this time, in between meetings, whatever the case may be. And I think you'll find that uh, just when you make it a priority, like somebody, I'm too tired to exercise. Well, once you exercise enough, you feel so good and not, and you kind of say exercise, and and if you'll know that when you are exercising, you feel so much better and you have so much more energy. And I like the weight training. I have done it all for forever. I just ran 5, 6 days. I never touched the weights. And then early on in my life, there was a couple of stints where I just worked out with the weights. But for the last long time, I enjoy being strong both with the weights, and I enjoy the cardio as well. That's me. You may find something you enjoy. I have a friend that rides his bicycle every day forever. I've got somebody else who still is running. I have somebody else who goes up to Y and does those classes, and they absolutely love the classes with everybody. I have somebody else that loves to work out with the weights with their buddies. And I'm thinking, but I like to work out by myself. I don't like, but if I had to go work out with buddies, I probably wouldn't do it. And if they had to work out by themselves, they probably wouldn't do it. So you do what you enjoy. So I'm eating a little better, a little less. I'm not drinking sugar, not eating the white stuff. I'm weight training at least 3 days a week, pretty strenuously, and I'm doing some cardio in there. And somehow it's working out for me. I feel as good now as I ever have, and I'm really not starving. I'm really not doing anything out of anything crazy. So it did, and because of that, I have so much energy for my wife, for our kids. Anytime they want to do something, hey, let's go on a hike. Let's do this. I get off work at 5. Let's go do that. I'm not falling asleep on the couch at 7 o'clock at night. I feel so much better when I'm eating better and I'm exercising. I'm staying in shape, and so I have so much more energy to plan date nights with my wife, or go do this, or whatever the case may be. Learn more about her, and her learn more about me. So there's some things that I hope help. Again, if you agree, disagree, email me at russ@the17laws.com, or put your comments below. I look forward to hearing those. And in the meantime, I hope this helps, and hope you have an awesome day.